I am concerned by the success of this movie. It's like, hey, yeah, you did the best you could, sure. But yeah, the ramifications of the movie's success, I think it could hurt a lot of other Nintendo adaptations and other game adaptations.
I don't go as deep with these things as you guys do, but just watching from where I am, it just seems like with this Super Mario Brothers movie, it is appropriate for what Super Mario Brothers is, where that's more focused on gameplay than story, as opposed to The Last of Us, which is much more focused on story.
Let's go ahead and get into a little discussion that I think might be interesting based on some rumblings I've been hearing about a certain film out there. So I'll start by saying this. We were begging for not that okay, not that good, but that great video game movie. Our show. Something that had a really amazing story. Something that fans of the game could watch, but also non-fans could come in and not be like, this is interesting, but be like, damn, this is actually good. This is based on a video game? Yeah. That's what they would say. 30 years later, it happened.
You haven't seen the world, so you don't know. No? Your cargo.
The Last of Us, the series on HBO, came out to critical acclaim. People said it's an instant masterpiece. The story is so compelling, just like it is in the original video game. Such attention to detail, to the narrative, something that we hardly ever see with a lot of adaptations. Some people say never ever see with adaptations. People said video game movies and now shows have finally arrived, and we were here to witness it. And then 3 weeks later. God damn it, this little Italian man's about to mess up everything that we worked so hard for, is what some people are saying. Some people are saying that the Super Mario Brothers movie, for all the progress that we've made, this is the one. Just 3 weeks later, this is the one that's gonna make us start stepping backwards. It's going to erase all that progress that we did. It's going to come in and just take things back to the way they were. Companies not giving a damn about the property as long as they make their money, which is what people are saying. If this reaches $1 billion, could it have a negative effect on future video game movies? And I'll tell you this. Now, a lot of you getting mad right now because y'all are saying, will you leave that man alone? What are you, jealous? This man, let him make his money. Let people have fun. Before you start getting too upset, keep in mind that there are arguments that can be made for and against this. I'm here to look at actually both sides. Okay. I'm here to, I'm not going to say play devil's advocate. I'm here to just kind of listen to what everybody's saying. And actually, let's all, just kind of have a discussion about this. I'll bring up a point and then, I'll just kind of spread it around the room right here. But let's just say that there is an argument to be made for this. I believe that people, okay, you're a little nervous about that for some of the people who saw this and they say that this is nothing but references, nostalgia. What'd you call that, Chris?
Member bears.
There you go. Remember this, remember that.
Remember.
Oh, it looks just like the game. I don't need anything else. Who cares about story? Hey, it's everything that I recognize. I recognize stuff. Is there an argument to be made for that? Listen, I can't blame people for feeling that way. Any message saying that story doesn't matter, as long as you're making your money, or you can get by on nostalgia. I could say that could be a little worrisome. I can see how people could be worried about that. I mean, especially if you've seen how that has worked for other properties out there. A lot of people say that, nostalgia and just being thrilled by an icon or an image is something that has really brought down some of our most beloved properties. Just play Star Wars for you right there. While some people still like Star Wars, there's some people saying like, yeah, that's been affected by that. Studios follow a formula. You can expect to see other properties given the same treatment. At this point, you might start to see just flat out imitations and ripoffs of the Super Mario Brothers movie. You know, like, don't be surprised if in the future, the not too distant future, you see Detective Pikachu rebooted into a movie where it's just nothing but Pokemon fights and a cameo from one Pokemon to the other with no real tight narrative right there. Nothing as inspired as what they did right here with Detective Pikachu. Now that's one argument to be made for being concerned about this. That's not me really speaking, you know, what I feel completely, but I'm just saying that that's some of the things that people might be saying or the arguments they might be using. But, you know, feel free to chime in, y'all. How you feel about it?
I mean, my whole thing with this, you know, I brought up before, you know, I was concerned with Illumination getting this property because as I said, I think they're a schlock animation house. I think they're kind of the worst of the worst when it comes to comparing them like DreamWorks or Pixar or anyone else. You know, I just think they're a bad studio. And I thought they did a better job than like something like Despicable Me and Minions, but it's not doing anything new with the characters or fun or refreshing. It's just that, I mean, the other thing about it, and I said this before, Nintendo fans are very easy to please. And you could put like a Nintendo logo on a stump and they'll be like, that's the greatest stump ever. And so I can see why they're just excited about this movie. But eventually when they keep making these sequels and spinoffs and everything, people are gonna be like, they're gonna want to demand more. But then you also have all the other studios are going to be like doing the same thing Illumination's now doing. I am concerned by the success of this movie. It's like, hey, yeah, you did the best you could, sure. But yeah, the ramifications of the movie's success, I think it could hurt a lot of other Nintendo adaptations and other game adaptations as well in the future.
Well, okay, so, and you say that the Nintendo fans are easy to please.
They are, yeah.
But look how people lost their shit when the first design of Sonic. Like that was not, and the people weren't like, oh, well, it's Sonic, cool, let's go with it. They were like, no, goddammit, we are not seeing this until you make it exactly like it is in the game.
Yeah, well, Sonic's not a Nintendo character.
Right, but it's still a video game character.
Sure.
where the fans of it were like, they weren't so easy to please. They were, you know, disproportionately angry about it.
And they were right.
Yeah, and they got it changed and got something that everybody loves. Yeah, I don't go as deep with these things as you guys do, but just watching from where I am, it just seems like with this Super Mario Brothers movie, it is appropriate for what Super Mario Brothers is, where that's more focused on gameplay than story, as opposed to The Last of Us, which is much more focused on story.
I like I said, man, I do think there's a concern to, maybe not so much for this movie, but I could see people being very concerned about what this would lead to. Because while this movie probably came in and did something that was true to its property, other people are just going to be doing it just for the money.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Superhero movies went through the same cycle.
Exactly. You know, listen, studios are a business, okay? They're not out there to chase stories. They're out there to chase money. So if this makes $1 billion, and they like I said, they didn't have to really concentrate on any kind of story or anything. Something that might not be as well adapted to just kind of being as, you know, as freeform as this. We might not be getting the quality of stuff that's out there. Is one argument, you know. Well, and that's like I said, it's not reflecting my thoughts exactly.
Well, to that point, you know, we're going to be probably getting more of these, but with this being such a huge commercial success, Nintendo's going to be like, oh, we're full in on Illumination. And so, yes, we're going to get the Super Mario Bros. Sequel, Luigi's Mansion, Donkey Kong, all that. I mean, they practically set all that up in the movie. But then you have some other Nintendo properties where I just feel like Illumination would not serve those potential properties well by being animated by Illumination, like a Legend of Zelda film. Like I feel like that story and those characters, there's more epicness. That's a grand fantasy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we get the Zelda movies, it's going to be, here's referencing, you know, Ganon, and here's the region. Oh, here's this music, and here's the ocarina, and there's Tingle. That's my fear, because I feel like you could do so much more with those stories compared to something like Mario. And I feel like, again, Illuminations just be like, we're just gonna do the same stuff that we've been doing because we haven't really faced any, you know, problems. Our movies have always made money, and then as long as we keep Nintendo happy, then who cares? And that lets me down because it'll be generic.
Yeah, completely legitimate point.
Yeah.
Although with all the things that you listed that they're going to do, it could be that it's more work than Illumination can handle, and it has to be passed off to others.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I hope so.
Because I think, actually, you make a really good point that I want to talk about later, because I actually have it saved for later. But it's a great point. But you also make a great point, because what you're saying is like, okay, you can play fast and loose with Mario. That's cool. But when you get something that is more story driven, you know, is that something where people are going to like actually do less just to get the money and just to put in all the, the nostalgic stuff. And something that's very story driven is going to be harmed by that. You're not going to get a great story where you actually did in the game. I can see exactly what you're saying.
I see it.
I still think, you and I talked about this. I still don't think that they'll make a Zelda movie with Illumination. But that's kind of my hopeful thing.
I don't want them to.
No.
Yeah.
At this point, I think Illumination, they're in the Nintendo business now, and so it's like, yeah, we'll pump out a Despicable Me or a Minions movie, sure, but like all those other franchises they set up, they're not gonna make another Sing. They're not gonna make another Life of Pets, because it's like we know that one of these movies is probably gonna make $800 to $1 billion plus. So, and like, hey, what's after Mario? Like, what's Nintendo's other beloved series?
Like Zelda. Yeah.
Zelda.
I don't imagine you'd see a Zelda movie, as you said. I think that they have a better chance to make that live action than anything, or on the rings of a Lord of the Rings or something like that, kind of in that realm. I don't see them doing animated, but like Donkey Kong, like they're definitely gonna do something like that.
Oh yeah.
It's like
that's
anything that's
fine.
like good.
Yeah.
Banjo Kazooie, Yoshi movie. It's gonna be some bullshit.
Crash Bandicoot.
All that stuff's coming, man. And just the fact that Last of Us did so well, and then now this back to back, they're just like, okay, like they're willing to go see it. And it's not just gamers; it's mainstream media. So
Let's talk about why there's no reason to be concerned about this, and there probably are reasons for this. Again, just playing both sides right here. So going back and looking at the Super Mario Brothers movie right here. Maybe the Super Mario Brothers movie is so faithful to the property. That's why it is so successful. This is probably one of the most faithful adaptations of anything out there. And that is why people are loving this. That is the real recipe for success with this right here. Which you'll also have a Green Chef right here, man. I had to admit, I'm sorry. I had to get this. Hey, let's go and get out the way now, so we can get on with this.
his face was so disappointed in you, man.
He wants to take that hat off and just hit me. Listen, I'll take it. Go ahead. I'll get back. Go ahead.
You look like a disappointed father,
Make
man.
your money back, man. I know what you got to do.
Oh man.
Hit me with the hat. You. Gilligan.
He's like, this shit again.
I do have to stop and give a word to our sponsors right now. I'll do this very quick, and I'll tell you about this. And this is a meal kit sponsor right here. A lot of people love this, and this time it is Green Chef, America's #1 meal kit for eating well, because they got dinners that are very healthy, work for you in a healthy way. Green Chef have options for every lifestyle out there. Got that keto. Hey, if you're working out like me, got that protein packed meal up in there. Also, you have vegan and vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean. Some people can't have that gluten. They got you covered on everything. If you need something or don't need something in your meal, they got you on that.
We got you, baby.
They got you, baby. Relax. They also have breakfast, brunch, lunch. Now you can add any of these any of these things to your orders right here. Also, you know what makes your meal taste better? When it doesn't have guilt in it, man. The gluten-free, and I'll take the guilt-free too. Thing is, with this, you feel so much better about eating your meal because Green Chef is the only meal kit that is both carbon and plastic offset. 100% of their deliveries emissions to your door are offset, and as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Plus, nearly all the packaging materials are curbside recyclable in most areas in the U.S. Ooh, boy, you can just taste that. What you laughing about? you could just taste that nice environmentalism right there, man. Ooh, boy.
Save the world, man.
Recycling has never tasted so good.
Do I need to pick this shit up for you too at the door? Or-
Yeah,
I'm bringing it right to you.
Hey, man, it'll taste better if you did. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Ray Dash.
Hey, yeah.
I don't have a car. It takes a little longer.
Hey, I got your appetite up right now, so I'll tell you what. Go to greenchef.com/toasted60 and use the code toasted60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. I want to thank Green Chef for coming in here and sponsoring this portion of the show. And I want to thank all of you out there for your support, as always. So I was saying before we went to this ad that, maybe it is so faithful the Super Mario Brothers movie, maybe it is so faithful to the property, to the game, that is why people are really loving this. I mean, whether it has a story or not, a good story or not. And there's an argument to be made for that, because if you look at the past, the biggest thing that people have been complaining about is that the studios didn't care enough to even make it resemble the game. I mean, speaking of the Mario Brothers, I mean, the one that came out in '93 is notorious for being nothing like the game.
They're on the trail of a kidnapped princess and a
She saw the movie and was like, damn, what the hell is that?
She's running from the premiere.
Yeah, that was the biggest complaint. A lot of people actually going in and saying that, then there's people trying to be, they're trying to be different. They're trying to say like, nah, man, you don't understand. The first Mario Brothers movie, that's the best adaptation because they tried something different. There's an argument to be made that they tried a little something too different. I even made the argument that if this didn't have Super Mario Brothers name on it and they didn't have those attachments, it probably still wouldn't be a good movie. But it would be something that would be interesting and not as bad, But yeah, because of the them using the IP and certain names and icons and whatnot, it's terrible. Because people didn't want that. It goes on and on, man.
I got your Super Mario Brothers for you. Yeah, but what is that?
Yeah. Wait a minute, this ain't what I ordered. Hey, God damn it. They got me to roll. But they kept doing it. He did it as recently as 2021. Mortal Kombat had a character nobody even recognized.
I hated this movie.
Actually, that character was never in the game.
Nope.
And nobody asked for that.
I forget what his name is.
Was it Cole?
Cole Young.
Built the whole movie around him.
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody, no one asked for his ass. Everybody wanted to see the main characters, and you did, but he took a whole lot of time away from them. Nothing against the actor, but that was just uncalled for, man. Going back to some other games that were even considered to be, are movies based on games that are considered to be decent, still messed up a little bit because they tried to change things around for just dumb reasons. Silent Hill, they changed the main character. If you played the game, the main character is a guy named Harry Mason. They changed it to a woman because somebody said, and I read this, somebody said at the studio, they said, well, we don't think it'll be as scary if it's a guy running around. A woman's more vulnerable. So yeah, only thing more frightening than that was the sexism back then that was happening. Yeah, they changed it up for a dumb reason like that. You got other things going on. Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
You have found your power. You must decide what you fight for.
Okay, what that? That's M. Bison.
Yeah, an Irish guy, yeah.
Irish blonde dude in a three-piece suit. Mm-hmm. Say what you will about the Van Damme Street Fighter. They tried to.
They did try.
They really did try. This right here, people were perplexed. They said, this is nothing like the game. I mean, you got some people that are wearing the mask, or you got the weapons, or they got the name, but there's nothing else to resemble that game right there. So, and listen, there's some exceptions out there.
Raccoon City.
Yeah.
My name is Alice, and this is my story.
Raccoon City, not such a success, but Resident Evil, the movies, whether you love them or hate them, after a while, they didn't care. They didn't care. Yeah. And you know what? For several movies, it worked. So sometimes there is an exception out there. But I want to bring this back to your point, man. So I think you made, and I had this already prepared, but I think you made a great argument when you mentioned that The Last of Us, it has a great story already. Mm-hmm. The game had the great story already. Mm-hmm. It was prepackaged in before they got there. Mario does not have a story, so maybe people are not so bothered by this being very loose.
My thing is, and that's a good point to bring up, I agree, but then I look at Arcane. Then I look at Castlevania. Those things do not, some of them have lore, but in terms of those characters, the storylines themselves in the games, I mean, they're one-dimensional. You had writers and creators that came in and I understand this property very well, and the studio trusted them, but I want to expand on it while honoring everything that came from those games before. And it bore spectacular results. Like, Arcane for me is like, that was like my favorite just a piece of media from 2021.
Right.
And Castlevania, that was like, there it is. That's like the first truly great, awesome video game adaptation, where they kept getting better from season to season, really expanding all those characters. Like Trevor Belmont wasn't a character. Like all the depth what they added to Dracula, it's like, oh wow, I see where he's going through, and the Alucard, like all that, dealing with him growing insane. Those properties had very little story to begin with, and look at what they did with it.
Oh yeah. No, they were able to take it and run with it. I think part of that is kind of like with the first Blade movie, where Blade was such a C-list character that you could expand and do what you wanted.
True.
and take these chances without having any backlash from it. And those games, Arcane and Castlevania, while popular, are not on that Mario level. You're looking at like Mickey Mouse, and it's going to the theater. Optimistically, you could say, all right, they didn't expand and do a lot with the story because it's like, we got to do proof of concept.
Yeah.
And then once it's proven, then they can go move forward. Now it's Illumination, so they probably won't.
Yeah, it's my concern. Yeah.
But, it's you can see where there's the difference in that. I mean, I get what you're saying because I see what you want to see. And I think that would be the great thing for everybody.
Yeah.
But we are, as you say, dealing with studios that are about making money, and they're gambling with a lot of money, so they aren't trying to, take those chances and lose it. Something that's going to a show on Netflix, they're like, yeah, we can go for it.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
You got to also understand that Mario's a kids movie.
Yeah.
So there's almost, I'm not trying to, again, because I am in the camp of people who think they should have done a little bit more with the story here. But, I think there's also sort of an appeal for, again, things not having a real tight story, things just being really kind of loose and fun, and kids like that. If you notice, you mentioned Castlevania and Arcane, and I think, the difference between those and Mario is that these are adult properties right here.
Sure.
And I think, if you're dealing with a much more mature audience, or a grown-up audience, I think, that's probably what needs to happen here, is that if you have something for kids, okay, you can be kind of carefree with it. The kids even like that a little bit. Stream of conscience in a way, if you want to think about it. But then when you're dealing with a much more mature audience, then you have to have a really tight story, or a good story, The argument that I made for Mario needing to be better was, I mentioned Sonic. But even then, if you look at it, Sonic was, they had to take liberties with Sonic. I mean, Sonic had to, it didn't take place on his ring world or anything, he had to come to Earth. Yeah. And then, then
like He-Man.
Yeah, like He-Man. Exactly. And they just made a fish out of water story. Now it worked. It was a lot of fun. And he did a lot of very creative things with adapting certain elements from the game to, the movie and into our world. But it's still, they had to take a lot of, liberties and change it up. Same thing with Detective Pikachu. Detective Pikachu was, it's different from the game. He's Ryan Reynolds. You know what I mean? So I would say that there's a purity to Super Mario that I think people are actually responding to.
Clearly.
I mean, there's just something where it's the things I didn't like about it were probably like the music cues that they have. You say Martin the Needle drops, because Illumination does it all the time, and they weren't needed music, here. Modern music, they just put it in there. I actually feel like I would have liked this better had they not done that. But reflecting on this more and seeing the arguments now that people are making back and forth about this movie, I'm like, man, there's a purity to this movie about them just sticking so close to the game that doesn't have a story and just bringing it to the screen that people are responding to greatly.
And the fact that it was Nintendo as well, I mean, they probably had so much say because they will take people's videos down like that. Yep. I don't even know if this Twitch stream's going to make it.
Yeah.
But they... So the fact that they were like, all right, you give it to Illumination, I'm sure they had so much say, like, you're not changing this, you're not doing that.
Sure.
Yeah. So be curious to feel how much they had, I guess, right on that.
Yeah.
Nintendo had like a reputation for years. Like we're not getting because they had such a bad experience making the original '93 Super Mario Bros. Movie. They're like, we're not adapting anything. We don't want to do that.
You know, and then again, people could come in and even make an argument for what I'm saying right now, because I mean, you know, taking something and that has no story to it, and then adding a story to it that's pretty cool. That's what they did for this property right here.
2, 3. I am so pumped up! Awesome!
Everything is awesome.
You know, Legos. Come on, you know. I mean, I remember everybody were rolling their eyes at that thing. What the hell are you gonna do with that? The Lego movie, and they put a story in that was actually pretty funny.
Crushed it.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I'll let you guys kind of close, but I'll say this. I think it's a legit concern to have with people saying what kind of standard is the Mario Brothers movie setting if it's going to make $1 billion with being very light on anything else but nostalgia. I think it's a concern to have, yeah. But I think it's an overreaction to say that it's going to ruin movies or video game movies moving forward. Could it? Probably. I don't know. But I think that's I think that's a great overreaction. You know, I think not everybody's going to be trying to, you know, pursue money. You're going to have another Castlevania. You're going to have another Arcane. You're going to have another Last of Us. You're going to have another Lego movie. You know, it's not everybody's just going to be pursuing just a buck and trying to repeat what Mario's doing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, at least that's my hope.
Well, it kind of goes in a pattern where somebody does that and then other people try to copy it and it gets lesser. But then just as people are kind of like, I don't know. There's somebody who's passionate about it. Some studio is passionate and goes like, no, we're going to make the best one of these. And it revives interest.
Or like an edgier one or something, you know, and then it changes. Everybody follows that narrative.
I'm curious because I know how I feel, but what's the universal take? Is Sonic 2 better than Sonic 1?
I guess so. I mean, both movies are kind of equal to me in a way.
Okay.
You know, I would probably pick Sonic 2 over Sonic 1.
Yeah,
I think they're generally well liked.
Because I feel like Sonic 2 is a lot better than Sonic 1.
Yeah.
And so with Mario, there is a chance of having that kind of thing happen.
True.
Where,
that is true.
You know, with the first Sonic, it was like, oh, wow, they did it. I mean, it's not great. Jim Carrey's awesome.
Yeah.
But the fact they did it, okay. And with the second one, it's like, oh, wow, they actually put some real thought into this.
They bring in more of the characters, too.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, and you know, Mark, you make a good point. It's like how many times can you just keep, you know, just showing stuff, you know, just to get a reaction? At some point, you're going to have to make probably something clever to get by.
Yeah,
or not, you know, who knows? But yeah, that is a good point. Well, anyway, what do y'all think, man? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm excited to see Conker's Bad Fur Day. Once they
that's
going to be the one. No, I think that Peaches song is going to probably win an Oscar for best original song.
That is legitimately great. That sounds great.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
because it gets stuck in your head.
Oh yeah, you seen the video with Jack Black and all that? I was like, this is ridiculous. They know what they're doing.
Let me see here.
Animation has done well for Jack Black.
I love that guy, man. I don't know why. That's a national treasure, dude.
Yeah.
They have a cover. They got covers already, man.
Dang.
Yeah, and pretty good ones too, man. One just went up the other day, man, and it's blowing up. This one's hitting. This what?
Go ahead.
What are you about to do?
I can see it.
His build. He likes to build.
Man,
you're not pulling us anymore. You're not pulling us.
I'm telling you, man, this was about to blow up. It's already beating the Jack Black version, man.
Okay.
With my star, we're gonna love you.
Okay, thank you for that.
That's the great Corell Bufford, man.
Oh, this Jack Crack, bro.
Coopers couldn't keep me from you.
It's the original leg right there.
Where's he performing?
Yeah. Double Toasted live in Atlanta.
Hey man, he's coming on Thursday.
No, good. No, all right.
doing if he would come out.
No, definitely. For him,
Show.
I will.
I'll be there for you.
No. Come on, him. He's unique.
If he is going to be there, you got to set up a mirror for him.
I like the way we showed this other day, last week on the cartoon show, and somebody in chat asked, is that a poster of himself in the
Yeah, it is, man.
Yeah.